Yeah. My phone battery died, I think. I don't know. But I'm going to keep it going. Um, this is important because, we got work to do. And for y'all to understand what's going to happen, I'm going to keep it going. I got this little favorite one here I want to show you real quick. Let me see. This is my joint right here. I love this little one. I keep it locked away. Oh, where's the camera? That's on this side now. Alright. See this? I want you to understand. I'm gonna use. Let me get something to point with. Yeah, I like that thing you were saying about the donations. Tell me how to set up the donation thing. I like donations. Now, if you look, this was a special crystal, man. And how it catches light. If you look like right here, you see this one that's coming in. It actually makes a symbol. It don't just you don't see like a spotlight and it's shining on like a spotlight. What it does is when it hits the light, it makes a symbol. You see it come up like a star being, or it has a shape and a form to it. Let me turn it so you can see them. Look, you see like how that come up. You see a symbol come up. Let me see. They come up all over. You don't know where it's gonna pop up at, and plus I'm trying to concentrate. But let me see if I could do it right. I'm gonna put it over here. Right about here. Let me see if I can dig on one. I can see over here like this. All right, you see like how that one's coming up right here? Look at that, right? You see, it forms a being. It don't just reflect the light. So that's a dimension right there, hitting at a 45-degree angle. So like you see, like down here, wherever you see one come on, it opens up a portal. You see like how this is right here? You see that? It's the shape and the being. That's how it's supposed to work for spirit crystals. They show you actually emblems and symbol on them. They don't reflect like how every other thing do. So you're looking into other dimensions just by actually staring into one. You get it in and you'll stare into one. This heals you, give you perception. That's how it works. All right, let's get back to this meeting. Now, um, he said, 3 hours of the halls of Amente, bound not by death to the circle of life, far to the stars I journey until space and time began as naught. Then, having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, I looked into the hearts of men, and I found I great mysteries and was glad. For only the search of the truth could my soul be stilled and the flame within be quenched. I explained all that part to you. And it says, down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. And you see right there, it's important for you to understand. He said, down through the ages I've lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. So you see, he's trying to tell you that in his immortal state, we or unconscious people leave and come back, but you're not conscious of it. So then he gets to see everything that is truly going on, but can't really do so much about it until we wake ourselves up. So he says, down through the ages I've lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. Gradually from kingdoms of Atlantis past waves of consciousness that have been one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of lower stars. So you got to understand, he says, down through the ages I lived, seeing those around me taste of the cup of death and return again in the light of life. That means they reincarnated, they never completed. He's not reincarnating. And then he says, gradually from the kingdoms of Atlantis past waves of consciousness that have been on one with me, only to be replaced by spawn of lower stars. So there he's telling you that as we go through different ages and we go into different star systems, you're still the same you. But in you, you lose your consciousness depending on what star system you're in. Each different star system render you what we call the yugas, the Kali Yuga, Tetra Yuga, and all the different yugas, which determines your state of consciousness if you're under the influence of the external world. So that's what it means. So he says, in obedience to the law, the word of the master grew into flower. Downward into the darkness turned the thoughts of the Atlanteans, until at last in this wrath arose from the Agwanti, the dweller. This word has no English equivalent. It means a state of detachment. Speaking the word, calling the power. So you got to see the dweller is the God in you, because it says this word has no English equivalent. It means a state of detachment. So when we talk about not looking at the word from external point of view, nirvana, this is like a state of detachment. So you got to understand the true you is the one who detaches itself from everything. And so once you become detached, you're only going to see truth, and the truth is who you really are. So he says, deep in the earth, the sons of Amenti heard and hearing, directing the changing of the flower of fire that burns eternally, changing and shifting using the logos until that great fire changes direction. Over the world then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing earth's balance until only the temple of light was left. Standing on the great mountain of Undal, still rising out of the water, some there were who were living, saved from the rush of the fountains. All right, I'm going to read that to you again so you get a deeper understanding of what's going on. He comes on, he says, deep in the earth's heart, the sons of Amenti heard and hearing, directing the changing of the flower of fire. So, the halls of Amenti is governed by somebody. It's not something, if you read the book of Tuat with Ra going on the journey through the book or the book of Gates, you see he take different beings with him, Apsu and so forth, that actually help him and guide him through the journey. So you in a world of when you say Amenti, that's directed by forces. It's where you got your tarot cards where you have, different beings that's helping you, different beings that's gonna predict your future, and different beings that's gonna be the parts that play out to make your future happen. Now, he says, deep in the earth, the sons of Amenti heard and hearing, directing the changing of the flower of life, flower of fire that burns eternally, changing and shifting, using the logos until the great fire changes direction. So you got to understand the changing and shifting, you could say, is destiny. Whatever destiny was supposed to be, this is what they're forming. And how he says that the dweller, we don't know his word or what he's trying to do. It's just a motive that we have to follow. So now, when he says using the logos until the great fire changes direction, we're talking chakras. That's what we call logos. So he used the chakras until it changes direction. And I'll give you more examples as we go along. He said, over the world then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing earth's balance until only the temple of light was left. So you getting the story of the flood, the whole flood story being replicated here. And actually, you looking at this flood is the same in psychology as when you could say that God saw the world as evil or bad, and then he sent out the water to flood it. So he sent over and over then broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing earth balance until only the temple of light was left. So you could see it saying the same, that it was bad and only darkness had to be left and the temple of light had to be established. And so it's the same story that's translated in your biblical story. And it says, only the temple of light was left standing on the great mountain of Yundal. So just like in the Bible, Moses landed on the Mount Ararat, this one lands on the great on Yundal. This is not the physical world though. When they talk, any mountain is literally coming out into the physical world. But you talking the journey of a spirit. The flood is actually you coming into the physical world. It don't mean you're in the physical world. That flood is not a physical flood. So that's where you see everybody use that terminology. And so it says, still rising out of the water, some there were who were living, saved from the rush of the fountains. So now, if you ever read, I got a few books that follow these same stories that tell in history, of the flood that took place, that the dragon actually made the flood take place, and that few people did survive. Those was the few that repopulated Earth, for the spirits that made it into this dimension to make this world exist. And it says, "It called to me the Master, saying, Gather ye together, my people, take them by the arts ye have learned of far across the waters until ye reach the land of the hairy barbarians, dwelling in the caves of the desert. Follow there the plan that ye know of." And so now you get to see they come into the physical world. And when they come into the physical world, their first place is to go to Africa, Kemet. Now, he says that he called to me, then the master, saying, Gather ye together my people, take them by the arts. You see, when you say by the arts, everybody's got a skill, a trade. He have learned of far across the waters. When you're saying far across the waters, now you see the parallel between the conscious and the subconscious, two worlds, the other side, the parallel world, until you reach the land of the hairy barbarians. Now they in the physical world, like Mount Ararat. You're talking about when the flood came and they land on the mountains, like a portal open and they come out through the other side now. And they're coming into the world of hominins in Mali. This is actually in Kemet. So he says, until you reach the land of hairy barbarians dwelling in caves of the desert, follow there the plan that ye know of. So I'm gonna go switch up so you get to understand what Chem is and who these hairy barbarians, because it's replicated in the early Dogon stories and the early Mali people story. They was the ones. Yes, Aisha Moshi, how you doing? Ash Modi, hello, blessings, thank you. I saw a cat face into the two-tone one. You saw the cat face and the two-tone Yashiri? Well, Sandra, how you doing? God bless you. You having a Kundalini activation, Yoshi. You've been going through it for a minute, you know. The crystal, yeah. Okay, yeah, through the crystal, oh, okay, I understand now. Yes, you will see them all in the crystals. They're alive. That's what makes up this reality. So, he says, Gathered I then my people and entered the great ship of the Master. Upward we rose into the morning. Dark beneath us lay the temple. Suddenly over it rose the waters, vanished from the earth until the time appointed was the great temple. So they're leaving Atlantis, as we can see, the other world. They're coming into our world now. And it says, Fast we fled towards the sun of the morning until beneath us lay the land of the children of Chem. Raging, Khem. Raging, they came with um, cudgels and spears, lifting in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. So you see, this is where they first come into the Mali people when they was in their hominum stage. This is that not that when they upgraded them yet to Homo sapiens. So they've been had the knowledge with them. So did Dagon, all the people of West Africa, because this is where Kem is at. Kem is not actually Egypt; it's further down from Egypt. So you get to understand that whole area was called this, and that's what they're referring to. He says, Then raised I my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone on the mountain. Then I spoke to them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we were children of the sun and its messengers called and I them I them by my display of magic science until at my feet they grovel when I release them. So you can see this is all new to like the hominins. They thought they could war with them with spears and everything, but these actually was using psychic powers on them, psychokinesis powers, which is our true powers. So that's what he was using, and we all got the ability to do it. So I just want you to understand, and it wasn't something to hurt them. It's just how we are. And then he says that saying we were children of the sun. So you see cross tense, we were children of the sun and its messengers. So we are still the children of the sun, but we don't know ourselves or who we are until we become familiarized with our memory. Everything start coming back to us, and we get to understand who we are again. So he goes on and said, long dwelt we in the land of Chem, long and yet long again, until obeying the commands of the Master, who while sleeping yet lives eternally. I sent from me the sons of Atlantis, sent them in many directions, that from the womb of time wisdom might rise again in her children. So when you're talking about how he sent out all his servants and everybody with him, you're talking about now the spreading of knowledge, where everybody went from just hunter gatherers to people waking up. This is um, replicated in your first civilization from what was it? I'm not talking I can't remember, like Lagesh and all that. We're talking right, the first civilization after Atlantis. You know, these people who started writing. I use Lagesh because you got Hammurabi there, and he had the first original law codes. He had the 300 law codes of Hammurabi, which later became the no, not Hammurabi. Hammurabi is the Sumerian version. He had the 300 law codes. But before him in Lagesh, there's the king of Lagesh, who had like 600 law codes, including the 300 that Hammurabi had, which Moses only had the 10 of it. The 10 is in the 300, which is also in the 600, but the first was in Lagesh, which is an earlier time. Sumer, yes, exactly, Sumer. So he says, long did we, dwelt we in the land of Chem, long and yet long again. So there you see, when you say long and long again, they was there for the homonym to the Homo erectus. They're the missing link that connects it, that we don't understand through what's the process called alchemy, the one where I tell you you become one. And so if you ever read the Merriam prophecies, you read those, that book will teach you that you was a piece, the creature, and you had an opportunity to be human. And so through ascension, that's where we learn. So that's what the Lumerian prophecies is about. So that would tell you we went from one species to another through a process of alchemy, with them actually teaching everybody how to do it. So he says, blast I then a path to Amenti, so that I might retain my powers, living from age to age, a son of Atlantis, keeping the wisdom, preserving the records. And this goes for everybody. Like if you go through meditation, you have to go and meditate all the time, or else you get sick, or you're subject to what the normal mundane do. So every now and then he has to go in the halls of Amente to refresh his powers, which is a dark side. And you have to realize you going through hardship and you going through suffering actually renders you a more stronger character, a more powerful personality. So that's equivalent to going into the halls of Amente and experiencing the dark side. And that's how life is in its general made, so that you could become a higher being or a higher self. You have to be able to tap in through adversity, post-trauma, for you to get it. So he says, great grew the sons of Chem, conquering the people around them, growing slowly upwards in soul force. So you see, through ascension, that's what he's basically saying when he says growing upwards through soul force. Now for a time I go from among them into the dark halls of Amenti, deep in the halls of the earth. So inside the earth now, he didn't tell you in space, he didn't say in heaven, he said deep inside the earth, before the lords of powers, he said face to face again with the dweller. Face to face. There's only a face in there. You're only going to see the face. And once you're there, it's the scariest thing in the world. And so you see it's inside the earth you're going, not in heaven. When you're saying the astral, you're not someplace more than in the inner earth. And I'm gonna leave this for a second to actually show you that that's what's going on in a few books that already I was looking at. And try to get it. Let me see if I could pull it up quick, because once you understand this, you will see that the inner earth, or what we call Agatha, is part of the astral. Everything is all part of one system. Let me see real quick. Let me pull it up for you. Mm. Boy, I found some information today. It will kill you. Sometimes you could hear what's going on. Roshi, this it would be a great book for you. I'm not even. All right, 1 second. 1 second. I just had it. This one is explaining the inner earth, the outer earth, the different aspects of the earth, so that we get a deeper meaning. Here we go. I think I found it. 1 second. Okay. 1 minute. 1 second. I just want to make sure. You know what? While I'm over here, I think this is it right here. Is this it? All right. This is not it. I also wanted to go over something else I see now that I'm gonna show you. 1 second. All right. I found them. Here we go. Is it this one? Ryan, man's higher self to self. Okay. No, it's not. 1 second. No. All right. I'm not gonna bust my head trying to find something. Either come or it don't. You know, right now I don't see what I'm exactly looking for, but I'm gonna come back to it. But I'm gonna keep it going still at the same time, because there's another part that I wanted to bring to you, and it's actually in this book right here, the Mysteries of the Fire by Samuel M. Anwar. You know, he's an incredible guy that helps break down what's going on. All right. I'm gonna give you a great example of some of the things that the chakras, our body, sexuality has to do with all of this, because they all encompass one thing. All right. Okay. This is called now the degrees of power of the fire. So you get a good example. He starts off, he said the cerebral spinal nervous system is formed by the cerebrum, medulla oblongata, and the spinal medulla. The medulla oblongata connects the cerebral with the sacral spinal medulla. The medulla oblongata is intimately related with all of the so-called involuntary function of our organic system. The medulla begins at the top of the spinal canal and ends at the first vertebrae of the coccygeal region. The spinal medulla is a cord of gray and white material. The gray matter is the center of the spinal medulla, and the white matter is the periphery. periphery. The gray matter is formed in a conjunction by innumerable nervous cells and a multitude of nervous fibers. The white matter is formed by nervous medulla matter. All of this matter looks as if it's suspended from the medulla canal. The nerve of this fine medulla matter is performed by means of delicate web of membranes that they are formed in. The medulla and the brain are surrounded by a powerful liquid mentioned by Dr. Leadbeater in one of his books. This marvelous fluid protects the medulla and the brain. All right, I want to learn to teach you about the fire, the serpent. He says, the Brahmahara is subtle in the internal constitution. Each of the seven bodies has its own spiritual medulla and Brahmahari. The Kundalini is constituted by seven serpents. These seven serpents are the seven radicals. The seven serpents of Devi Kundalini are seven brothers of Fohat. The seven serpents of Deva Kundalini are the seven degrees of power of fire, which is Atma, the innermost, Bundi, the consciousness, the divine soul, the Supermanas, the human soul or willpower, casual body, the inferior manas, the mind or mental body, the Kama Rupa, the body of desire, the astral body. Remember that Kama Rupa, that's important for y'all. The Linga Sariya, the vital etheric body, and the Shanglu Sarira, the physical body. Each of these seven bodies has its own spinal medulla and its Shushma Nadi and its Bandi. These are the seven serpents to groups of the three, with the coronation of the seventh tongue of the fire that unites us with the one, with the Lord, with the Father. These are the seven levels of knowledge. These are the seven doorways of the seven great initiation of the major mysteries, and on the terror of love and law reigns throughout these seven doorways. The human being raises the first serpent through the first initiation of major mysteries. The human being raises the second serpent through the second initiation, and so forth. So you see, all of this is inside of you. And if you don't understand what's going on, it's happening unconsciously, and you don't know who or what is going on or how to actually interpret what you're feeling. Now, I want you to read here the part about the semen and what it has to do with it, because the semen is the solar logos that actually connects you. And if you don't know about the semen, it will actually like activate on its own without you knowing you're activating, and you just going through some crazy experiences that you just don't understand. So let me get this one. It's called the Yellow Book. Give me 1 second. Okay. Just 1 second. No. Yeah, you know what happened? I lined up my books, everything, and when it goes in here, it just jumps to wherever it wanted to jump, so I have to search. They put them in all types of different orders now, but I had everything set up. Um, I don't see the Yellow Book though right now. All right. Unfortunately, that's not pulling up, so I'm gonna have to skip that part until I get back to it. I'll be able to find it. 1 second. Let me just make sure first before I move on. I don't want to pass it and then see it. I do that. No, it's good to learn like the basics of like what is taking place in your biophysiology. That's the connection that I was trying to make when I'm adding in this little part with the Yellow Book, because we're going through a biophysiology change, and it actually changes us, and it's a subtle change, and we going through it, we become these different beings. And once we understand how we change, and you understand yourself more, and you unite yourself with your higher self as you go through these change. So that's really what I'm looking for to get. But let's get back to this emerald tablet then for the moment. And come back. Everything makes 360 degrees. All right. You know, I'm looking for it. All right, I'm looking. All right. Now this time I'm gonna take it into the same thing I told you about Jerry Issa. He's a great writer that actually did um the Emerald Tablet, and a few other books. I have found it. I was telling you about it. The name of the book is Return of the Golden Man. Let me see if you can see it right there. And just to give you an example, I'm going to show you the chapters, the table of contents. He goes into it so you get a greater understanding. You know, you see from the table of contents, it all got to do with the Emerald Tablet. It's on the 12 pyramids of Thoth, view of the pyramids from the poles, another view, the family tree, pictorial path of the human animal body, genetic engineering, that's how they engineered our genetics, overview of man, departure from Atlantis, trip to Kem, arrival to Kem, the building of the Great Pyramid, 6,000 years later, the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, the real one, a trip through the dawning, the subtle matter energy, what it means and how to use it, as above, so below, the new creation, the seven rays. You see, all of this is important for you to wake up. It's not something that I'm just trying to run through and say real quick, but you got to understand your position in it. So, keeping it on now, let me just keep it going in this book. All right. Here we go. I'm taking it from page 7. He said, man's consciousness is left at the beginning of each new golden age, progress into its pinnacle before beginning its long descent back into the new dark age. So you get to see, you only come out for a period and then you go back in. I'm going to read it again. He says, man consciousness is lifted at the beginning of each new golden age, progressing to its pinnacle before beginning its long descent back into a dark age. Excuse me. This is as inevitable as neither air to breathe, so it has to happen. During the dark ages, very little awareness is retained in the conscious mind of the days long past, but is the hearts of men a dim memory and store giving rise to myths and legend. For over 400,000 years, the earth has been going through a cosmic dark age. This is first cosmic this is the first cosmic dark age since man arrived on Earth. Even through the cosmic dark age, we occasionally glimpse a little at the beginning of a new equinox. Every 24,000 years, at the time, we temporarily raise up to a new level of consciousness before beginning the gradual decline again. During these times of light, man reaches up to his creator and at a little while accomplishes what seems to be a miracle of civilization and future generations. Now the cosmic dark age has lasted so long and finally coming to an end, and man has the opportunity to soar to an unbelievable height, to a point where the 24,000 year cycle will not impact nor restrict him to where he loses all the progress made in each previous golden cycle. So you see, you've been here for a long time and you've been going through different stages of yourself. And so you can't die and you evolve and you don't get the full message until you leave your body, because you're being programmed to believe about school, work, and so forth. But in it, you have another spiritual mission. And the job is for you to unite yourself, not with just your physical goals that you brought onto yourself, but your purpose for coming here and being here. And so that's what our Father is trying to show us. That's what the tablets is trying to show us, our true higher self and what's our purpose here. And sometimes it's going to seem to contradict everything that we're doing. All right, so on that note now, let's continue with the Emerald Tablet so that we could finish getting a full understanding. So he said, great grew the men of Kem, conquering the people around them, growing slowly upward in soul force. Now for a time I go from among them into the dark halls of Amente, deep in the halls of the earth, before the lords of powers, face to face again once with the dweller. Raise I high over the entrance, a doorway, a gateway, leading down to Amente. Few there would be the would no, he said, few there would be the courage to dare it. Few past the portal to dark Amente, raise over the passage. I might, a mighty pyramid, using the power that overcomes earth force gravity. Deep yet deeper place I have force house of chamber, for it is carved a circular passage reaching almost to the great summit. All right, I'm gonna read that to you slow and break it down. I know I'm speeding. He said, "Raise our high over the entrance, a doorway, a gateway leading down to Amenti." So when he said, "Raise our high over the entrance, a doorway," it's a portal. All doorways are portals. And if you wanted to go into the halls and you can't meditate, your best place to meditate is right in between your doorway, right in between here. Go in between, put your chair there, sit there. That's a portal. All doorways are portals. So he said, raise our high over the entrance, a doorway, a gateway leading to down to Amenti. He said, few there would be with courage to dare it. And I want you to understand, going into the halls of Amenti is the most scariest thing in the world. Nobody really want to do. And that's why he said, few pass the portal to dark Amenti. And Amenti is a dark place, but it's not like how we think. He said, raise over the passage, I, a mighty pyramid, using the power that overcomes earth forces, which is gravity. So it's like he's telling you, you have to go in your other body, your higher self body, your 0 point gravity body that actually takes away all the forces around you, which actually gives you the power to not, you're magnetic now, but we attract different forces, just like gravity holds us down. But in your astral body, you don't have that. But there's different signs for each different level. The pyramid being the one that actually take away the forces around you as far as gravity, any type of repelling force, so that you can travel through the halls of humanity. Now, I wanted to get into another part with it about the halls that has to do with Agatha and the inner earth and Admiral Byrd. And for some reason, the research material isn't pulling up at the moment, and I needed it to actually show you. So, when I could get it to come up, I want you to understand the halls is a very real place. It's a magnetic field that surrounds the earth. That same toroid that I showed you in the picture, how you got the toroidal field and you got the two crisscrossing of the caduceus coming through the middle of your body and it forms the toroidal field. Well, that toroidal field is full of your information. It got all your data on it, written all over it, which is actually around you in this aura. Well, so do the Earth have one that we call the Akashic Records. And so your toroidal field links to the Earth's toroidal field, and you could read the Akashic Records. It comes to you as holographic symbols. You'll see just like holographic pictures that actually, when you focus on it, it has moving images and it actually sound and everything. You could zoom in, zoom out, whatever you want to do, just so you could understand everything is being recorded at all given time. It's the Earth Time Keeper, and that's called the Halls of. It's called the Akashic Records, which is part of the Halls of Fermenting. So you got to understand, there's nothing ever hidden. There's nothing ever secret as long as a person got the ability to be like a seer or to travel the halls of Fermenting, he could see everything that's going on. So he said, other chambers are built and left vacant to all seamen, yet hidden within them are the keys to Amenti. He who in courage would dare the dark realms, let him be purified first by long fasting. So here we go now. You see, when you're going into those worlds, that's why I try to tell you, it's scary. Everything about it is not how you see. Because he even tell you, someplace he's going back and forth, the halls of fermenting. I'll read it back. He said, there in the APAC, set I the crystal, and you see crystals is important. He even used it, sending the ray into the time space, drawing the force from out the ether, concentrating upon the gateway to Amenti. So he goes through the crystal, shoots through it, and he literally is in time space where he's no gravity, nothing could affect him. That's why we talked about it, how he overcome it with the pyramid crystal. And so with that now, he sees the halls of Fermente, but he has to concentrate upon it for him to get there. He said, other chambers are built and left vacant to all seamen, yet hidden within them are the keys to Amenti. So you could get lost in all those different worlds. But when you get lost in there, eventually they'll lead you to the one path. So he said, he who come in coverage with did the dark realms, let him be purified first by long fasting. So in it now, like I was telling you, I had to put on weight to do the work for the crystals. Usually I stay fasting and I eat maybe once a day, maybe every other day. And so I'm always in the halls of fermenting, and it's easy to get into because it attaches to your system through light, all the chakra particles, and you just feel like, it's just a body doubling that feels unique. And so, if you're not in shape, or not saying in shape as far as exercise, if your BMI or your vibratory frequency is not right, it's going to be very painful, one. And it's a journey that you have to have an empty stomach for. You can't do this with food in your belly. You can't be full. And it's in Reiki, any art, any yoga, you always only eat, like say your stomach is 100%, you only eat 1/3, and then the other you leave water, and then the other you leave air. You're supposed to always have your stomach in those three cycles: solid, um, water, and air. So that's the space, the gas, and everything is for the gods. So you get an understanding. So he says, lie in the sarcophagus of stone in my chamber. Then reveal I to him the great mystery. Soon shall he follow where I shall meet him. Even in the darkness of earth shall I meet him. I, Thoth, Lord of wisdom, meet him and hold him and dwell with him always. So you can see, Thoth is the same thing as saying, you know, Jesus or one of them, because you line the sarcophagus of a stone in the chambers, the same like where they say Jesus is buried in the sarcophagus of a stone. So you see, everything is the same. Then reveal I to him the great mysteries. So if you're looking at the mysteries, who professed the mysteries and say he got the mystery? And then if you he spoke to his disciples saying, this is the mysteries, and I reveal it to you but not to nobody else. All of this is the same emerald tablet that they just read, regurgitating to us in the books with their poetic justice over it. So soon shall he follow to where I shall meet him. Even in the darkness of earth shall I meet him. So where we looking at as evil is not evil. There is no good and bad so far, he told you in this. He's just telling you different places. With the darkness, chaos energy is the renewal energy. Now, for you to get a good understanding of how this is, we got a lot to cover, and it's no way I could cover it in one night. But to make you understand how we are, we're dual minded. It's like the same thing we like is the same thing we hate, and so we're actually perfect in ourselves because we're chaos. We're good and bad. We're creation and destruction, and so that's how we are. We're still that energy that's spewing, but we don't understand ourselves that it's okay to be like that, that that's normal. We believe that we're more superficially these good beings. Well, I'm gonna take you into it by reading, showing you. I'm gonna end it off for this moment because I got a few things to do. As this is the force of life. This is kind of deep right here, and I just wanted to share some of this with you. You know, in it, it shows recovery from death posture. He said, "This is your recovery from death posture." This is some deep stuff, but in it is the truth of who you are, and it tell you the truth, which is that nature is atrocious. You see, this is nature right here, the nature spirits, and they're here to test you. So you're not gonna go and have nothing more than this to face. Tests, desirable tests and fighting tests. So now he goes on to say, this is key of the effigy. Key of the effigy speaks. This will be the same thing like Ra, one of them speaks. And this is what he says. I bring a sword that contains its own medicine, the sour milk that cureth the body. Prepared to meet God, the omniferous believing, thyself in the living truth. So want you to catch that. He says, the omniferous believing, thyself the living truth. You're the living truth. And trying to change yourself is denying God. Whoever you are, however you act, that's your living truth. That your representation. So he says, die not to spare, but that the word may perish. Nature is more atrocious. Learn all the things from thee in the most sinister way, for representation, from thy thought to become thereafter. Having suffered pleasure and pain, gladly thou dost deny the things of existence for freedom of desire from the sorry mess of unequal wants so desire. Let me break that down for you so you understand. And when he said, die not to spare, live and don't worry about in between, but that the world may perish. And so you know that this is a cycle of life and rebirth, life and rebirth. He says, so nature is more atrocious, learning all the things from thee in the most sinister way of representation. So we learn the truth by seeing bad. That's how you learn good. When you see all this life death representation, it teaches you what's good. And so, as sinister and as evil it may seem, or how we want to abolish one is there to teach the other. It's a balance, and without the balance, if you can't teach the other, you can't understand. So you get a full understanding. He says, um, gladly thou dost deny the things of existence for freedom of desire from this sorry mess of equality once so desired. So you came here because you left the Father because you felt you wanted your own free will. With creating your own free will, you created this freedom, which now renders this world. And so it's like you want to leave this world now and go to something else. So he's telling you, having suffered pleasure and desire, gladly those deny the things of existence for freedom. So we always denying existence, what's in front of you. This exists, this happened already. And then we saying, no, it should be this way, it should be that way. This is wrong, this is right. So that's why we're always running from something. We fear um, our own desires, and our desires become our own fear. You know, so that's what he's trying to show you. He said, desire is the conception, and induces in thou. Therefore, is neither thou nor I a third person losing this consciousness by unity of I and self. So you got to realize, in us leaving the whole, he hit us with something to mess us up, which was desire. Whatever you see, you're going to desire it. Anything you see, you're going to want to mimic it. So even though you get free will, you know he was tricking you because he put something in you that make you like a repetitive robot that just, yes, peace and blessings, bro. What's going on? So you got to realize how the whole concept of it worked. That the fact that we chose our free will as angels, you got to realize it came with a price, and that price is desire. You make sure that you always stuck with that, and what you choose will always have a consequence to it because it was also done out of desire. So let me read on. Having suffered pleasure and pain, gladly dost thou deny the things of existence for freedom of the desire from this sorry mess of iniquity, inequality one so desire, and as far is and is fear of desire. The addition of the T of the great illusion, desire is the conception I induce in doubt. There is neither thou nor I nor a third person losing this consciousness, but by unity of I and self. There would be no limit to consciousness and sexuality. Isolation and ecstasy, the final inducement, is enough, but procreate thou alone. So you got to read that. Let me read it. It says, there is neither thou nor I, nor a third person losing this consciousness by unity of I and self. So you got to realize there is neither you nor I, nor a third person. Everything is one in consciousness by unity of I and the self. There would be no limit to consciousness in sexuality. And so if you notice, it's in sexuality everything occurs. You become one with the person. It's the only time you don't oppose something, when you actually engage in a sexual act. You want to unite with this person energy, and you absorb this person energy, and both of y'all go someplace together. So unlimited consciousness and perfect consciousness reside in sexuality, in the sexual act, because that's the only time we don't have negative thoughts in it. We don't push something or will something that's negative. You only want to desire to unite. So he said, isolation and ecstasy, the final inducement, is enough, but procreate thou alone. And so that's the whole thing to it. If you could do it alone, that's the trick. Procreate thou alone. Speak not to serve, but to scoff. Hearest thou heaven loud guffy. Directly the mouth opens, it speaks righteousness. And the ecstatic laughter of men, I hear their violation towards release. How can I speak that for which I have necessitated silence? Salvation shall be unsay all things, and true is the time that speaketh all things. So you in a world where everything is the opposite. You looking at in the ecstatic laughter of men, I hear their violation towards release. So in your laughter and happiness is sadness. How can I speak that for which I have necessitated silence? And so how could you speak when you need silence to hear? That's what he's saying. It's like you want to will a business, a bakery shop. You have to go within yourself. But most of us will go and look up what another person did and do what they did, and then your business don't work because you didn't do it. You did what they did. You got to look within yourself to find these deeper things so you can see for yourself. So our own salvation is within the own mess that we create. So true wisdom cannot be expressed by articulated sound. The language of the fools is words. And that has everything to do with it. You want to know the meaning to this. You want to know the meaning to that. If you want to know the meaning to something, then you're not a knower. A knower don't know the reason he know anything. He just know how to do it. And that's what you have to look to now instead of trying to wonder, what does this mean? What does that mean? Michael Lawrence, how do we look inside of ourselves? That's the thing. You will never be able to look inside yourself. I told you about that, Michael, when you ask that question. That means you're not trying to look into yourself. Only way you'll be able to look into yourself is by you stop talking. Words is the problem. You're looking for a definition. Even if you look in yourself, you're speaking inside yourself. With you, all right, let me give you an example. If I was to express the word I love you, right, before Europeans came with the English definition, you wouldn't use I love you like ILOVEY. You can't express yourself like that. Love is like a feeling. You just look at the person like, and they know, oh, he loves me. Same thing. It's like we lose when we try to figure out how to do it. If you go figure out how you walk, how do you walk? Explain that to me. Silence is the answer always. Yes, Yoshira. Always go to the silence and you hear everything is inside you. So if you could tell me how you walk, then you could tell me everything else. You don't know how you walk, you just do it. That's what a knower is, a person who just do it. You don't explain how you do it. When you're looking for answers, I'm sorry about the question. No, Michael, you good. It's good to search the questions and ask the questions, but ask these things to your inner self. Make time to be alone where silence is at, and you will get the answers that pertain to you and your journey. Because what might trigger somebody might not trigger you. What might work for somebody else might not work for you. You have to see what works best for you by you actually experimenting on yourself. So your question, silence is, how do we look inside of ourselves? Only way we could see inside of ourselves is through hurt and pain, through empathy, through others. That's the only way. If you ever looked into yourself, it was because somebody pissed you off, somebody disrespected you, somebody told you the truth, said, look, you did that wrong, that was fucked up. And then you be like, damn, you're right. That's called looking into yourself. And you go, yeah, you're right. And so how are we going to look into ourselves if we're the projector of ourselves? The only way you'll be able to do it is sit down on the meditation and go over your day. Recycle your day. See if you offended anybody today or anybody offended you, then you look. But just your basic looking into yourself is not normal. You're always in yourself to look into yourself. You carry yourself through society humbly, with discipline. That's looking into yourself, meaning do unto others as you want done unto you. So when you approach somebody, you know they do this and they do that. They work hard like you. So you don't impose your will onto them. You give them the respect and space that you will want. That's first number one. So these things will keep you looking into yourself because yourself is their self. And if you look into yourself, you'll know them. It's that simple. It's when you be fake, when you have your own motive, like you need a babysitter. You know she got to go to school and she got some, but you push the issue. Yo, I really need you to do this. You know, you can't see yourself in situations like that because you're not looking into yourself and being honest. You just imposing your will, using force to get something. And some people under force and pressure, stress, duress, can't say no. And that's where you get your basic energy vampires, your succubuses. So the fact, if you're gonna want to look into yourself, you would have to actually be more humble, more disciplined, and actually understand through empathy and prudence what's going on in reference to your environment. It's simple to look into yourself if you stay quiet. Silence is the ultimate looking into yourself. When you stay quiet, you'll see the fool in a person come out. Sometimes just looking at a person and don't answer them, just looking at them, they'll answer their own question. They'll keep talking and you hear everything, you hear their own truth. So you get to realize the truth of you is not in the words, it's in the expressions and your true nature. And the only way you tap in is by being quiet. The more quiet it is, the more you hear, to be honest. It's not silent inside of you, it's very loud. But you can't hear it with externalizing your existence because your five senses is only seeing insecurity, suffering that make you pretend to be you're better. I could get that too. I want a car too. I want to do that. So you're just a replicator of what you see. I've been getting bad mind chatter lately. Yeah, Yeshia, it's going around. You know, you're being tested by the archons. It's nobody really bad minding you and chatter. It's your thoughts that's chattering, and you're tuning into it as if it was real. You're being tested by the archons, and you fail the test every time because you listen to that. You're not listening to your consciousness, your true self. It's only a true self in you that is a being. Those two is one word. So in being, there is no vocals. There's no words. How do your spirit know what language to speak? If you was Arabic, would your spirit or your thoughts speak to you in Arabic? If you was in China, would your thoughts and spirit speak to you in Chinese? How do they know these things? How do they know how to communicate with you in your language? That's because they can't. We the ones who put that in ourselves. And until we let this go, we're not going to be able to ascend. We don't play with spirits, we don't play with thoughts, we don't play with mind. Delete those things away from you. You're perfect. Just be. Action. It's your thoughts that fuck you up. It's your thoughts that hinder you. It's your thoughts that prevent you. Once you just do it, like Nike, you will see who you are. And that's what you are. You're a being that do it. You're not a person who's looking for words to express your ego. That's egotistical. You understand? So let's be for real. If you was to want to do something, it's more of an action. So with us, it would be more psychic. We exchange energy through our hands, our chakras, than to say, how do you do this? What does this mean? Who cares? It's different in every language. I'm giving you in the most easiest way to absorb it. That you have more of what to be than to actually define yourself as. I've been getting bad. So so it's the mind that talks. I keep catching myself, but it's a constant battle. Haha. All right. Yes, it's the mind. It's not. You know what talks? Each cell on your body talks. If you could see your cells, I'll go up close. These little cells actually talks. Every single one of them is connected to your neurons that put thoughts in your head. They all have a different purpose because they are connected to a planet, a zodiac, a constellation, a color of light. All of those that has to be nurtured. That's why the sun go around us in the circadian rhythm that give us melatonin, vitamin A, vitamin D throughout the course of the day. Everything is talking to you, you know. And so if you tune in, everybody have an issue on your body that it needs help with. But those is not what you're here to do. Our brain from day one, from you came out, been bombarded with thoughts of yourselves. And if you listen to them, you will have the chittering all day. And you've been running around without discipline all your life. So the hardest things when you first start going into the crafts or to learn is to actually sit still and to not think. Practice those things first. Sitting still, don't move and don't think. Get a crystal of mines or something and stare at it. Just stare at it. That's make you don't think. Listen to your breathing. Try to hear your heartbeat. Try to listen to your pulse. The idea is not to think. If you think, you're artificial. By not thinking, you're being who you are. And by not thinking, information come into you. If you think, you're projecting information out. Thought forms, they call. Google it. But once you stop, you become getting downloads, information start coming in. It's actually habitual. So if you don't used to thinking, you'll never be able to think. You can't stop it once the machines start running. It keeps going forever. It's to try to grab a grip on it, jump on it like a wild horse, and get some type of control of it. Your first steps towards it is not to pay attention to your thoughts. Your thoughts is only a representation of what occurred to you already. Aside from your cells needing immediate attention, your regular thoughts and your instinctive response could only be from something that already you experienced already, and you're going to repeat it. But in doing so, you're repeating an action that's going to render you the same action. So I always say you never do anything out of fear, out of love, out of anything you're feeling. It only renders you to get the result out of. You don't want no result, no karma, no return on the water wave of life. So by not thinking, you're able now to connect to the halls of Amenti, connect to the astral world. The astral world is a place of thought governed by beings. You don't have no control over nothing in there. It's all the greatest beings control that world. And the greatest thing, since our astral visions open, we think we control it. We think we could do what we want in there. We think we could beat these gods. That's a pseudo thing. That's not true. Everyone is documented since the beginning of time and is in there and control that world. You're there to ascend and learn lessons, not there to do comic book shit or shit you see on the movies. That's not going to work up there. No matter what you do, and if something attack you and bite you, you're still here. Not a cut, not a bruise. So it's not real. It's psychological. And once you realize that, you take the trip to the halls of Amenti and do it right. I call the zero balance or zero balancing. Yes, Karima, Shi Ali, that's the fact. It's the 0 point balance, and it's good to balance your whole energies and get everything on one level, because those is what's gonna actually um, make you be able to make the right chemicals and the right chemistry to balance yourself out. Remember, we have toxicity inside of our body. So sometimes you might get a feeling of a sexual energy and you be like, oh, these entities is trying to have sex with me. But they needed that sex energy to heal you, to make a certain chemical reaction. It happened for me in the beginning. And so I learned that it wasn't like something was trying to have sex with me. I needed the sex energy to actually project my astral world. I was dark inside. And sun staring gave me a semi-light, but it was through the activation of the sexual energy brought a bright light in me that I was able to project onto a wall and travel like if a screen opened up into the astral world. So it's like your whole wall just opens up to another world. Slowly as a little circle first spinning, or orb, the orb opens up and keep opening up and keep opening up, and it'll just consume a whole new world. Then you're in the halls of Amenti, where you're just flying by fast through mountains, caves, deserts, all type of places. Next thing you know, you're in ghost images like if you're in Cerebro, and it's floating by you from 1977 to 1412 to the slavery to cotton. Everything is just there all at once in a giant collage. And as you focus with your third eye, it highlights just like this how it looks. It brightens up and then you could stare at it, and subatomic particles come together with the little squigglies in your eyes, and you start seeing everything just as it took place. That's how everything works. And these are all spirits that's making one big event happen for you. But we don't know who we are or what we are. So you have to understand these now. So you can will it right. All right. You know what? It's a lot. And I don't want to give y'all too much. I'm looking now because I could throw off this whole system. But one day at a time is how we're going to take it. And so thank you, Kima, Aisha. Al. It's real. It's real. I'm not gonna tell you something that is not true, and I'm gonna try not to. I done. I'm a product of everything I tell you. So I know with me, I don't talk. This was my first time talking for today, and I'm trained not to talk. I rather talk psychically, but I don't talk psychically either. It's no talking. You're receiving information from higher dimensions, so it's just straight download. And if you're new to it, you have to train yourself because you're habitual. It's like a person who have bad habits. You have to train yourself. You have to learn to fast. Take the pain of hunger. Take that pain. It goes away for a while, and you don't do it. But when you fast, you're able to astral project. You understand? Oh, let me break down that with hunger then. With hunger, it's not really hunger. You're only feeling the pain of the food digesting. Like, say you ate this morning breakfast, and it's getting 12 o'clock lunchtime. That they gotta set it. That's when your gas is gonna start breaking down, and gastro pain make your stomach start contracting. So now you be like, you interpret it in your mind as you're hungry. It's lunchtime, but it's not. And if you do eat, it's not going to actually continue breaking down the food because you're going to draw now. If you had a bloated stomach by you feeling those things and not eating, it's going to go down. You're going to shrink on the food. But if you interpret this as eating, when this is supposed to digest your food, you adding more to it, you blocked up the space and it's just now bloating. You got a little tummy sticking out. You got to let the tummy flatten. Everything got to go out. Everything. You got to. If you got it full all the time, you're gonna get sick. It's toxicity building up in it. So somehow you gotta be able to relieve yourself and let yourself digest. Wait 8 hours between each meal. If you're gonna eat, don't nick and knack all the time. Eat a big meal. I'm back to one meal a day again. That's right, yo, Roshi Rod. That's the right way. Stay. Everybody's supposed to eat one meal a day. Discipline yourself for the rest. No matter if you're hungry. I war with myself for 6 months, 8 months. I when I started the journey, I said I'm not eating no snacks at night. I don't give a fuck. I used to be hungry. Bad habit ways growing up. You on the bed watching TV 8, 9 o'clock. You want some chips and Doritos, Pepsi or whatever. Yo, I war with myself for a while to get that desire, that urge. That was a demon on me, and eventually I won. And I don't have those desires no more. I don't even have to want to eat, And so you get to see that your body is not what you think it is. It is the program that is the master, and you're really just following the program. But if you wanted it to be better, say you was giving it some saturated fats at night, that's gonna make you sick. Say you was eating every time you interpret that feeling as hunger, it's gonna block up your food so everything go in your colon. That's where you get the love handles. Everything went in your colon. And so after a while, the body shut down. And if you don't know that it's on digestive stage now, meaning it's breaking everything down, and you keep putting food in, you're going to get a toxic flow coming through your intestine, and it's going to bleed out, and you get cancers and all types of sicknesses. So you have to give yourself enough time for your food to digest after you eat. And it's not good to eat 3-course meals because your body can only break down one food at a time. Believe it or not, go look into it. Your body can't break down the meat, the rice, and the vegetables at the same time. It just, the two slid by while it broke one down. And so, but if you keep eating like 3-course meals and all these different things, you will learn like the tantric masters. They only have one thing: a bowl of rice, or two things: a bowl of rice and vegetables, or a bowl of rice and meat. Whatever it is, you ain't supposed to eat more than a two-course food because your body can only break two things down at one time. So that's it. So when we eat all these different things, we're making ourselves sick. A lot of food get through our body without being processed, and that was what get us sick. So once you get your body conditioned to only eating once a day, which is hard, like I said, it hurts, and it's not a pain; it's a more of a habit, and your body gets set off a chemical to trick you because you're interpreting it wrong. So you disregard those. If you can't forcibly get fruits, fruits don't add on nothing to you for your night things, but that's cheating because it's a mind thing. As long as you feed it, it's gonna exist. It's not gonna go away. You have to cut it, delete it like a program that you don't want no more, and don't do it. And you might keep repeating it and glitching, but then on the fourth day, it's not in you no more. I do hummus and bread, maybe some cornbread or something with it. Avoid sugar now. Yes, definitely felt great the other day. Yeah, a lot of us we have to cut down on a lot of the um, intake of what we consider glucose. Glucose is covered in rice, sugar, starch, anything, meat. That's all glucose, and you have to learn that. All right, if you're gonna consume glucose, you got to consume it with consideration that you have to eat some alkaline too. You can't just consume your food and thinking it's all starch based, that it's just starch. No, it's sugar, and then turn to glucose when saliva hit it. And so when you put that in your body, water is should be taken in a moderate way, very moderate. Because if you ever did the research on water is actually a bad thing for the human body. It was never really a product of drink water, drink water. We never see that. Why? Because say you wake up and you need, there's 128 minerals that the body requires for it to work normal. But say you eat for breakfast eggs and sausage and whatever cereal, you only capturing maybe 5 or 6 minerals out of the 128. Say you eat the same meal all the time, you eat the same food all your life, you're only getting those couple minerals. All right. So what minerals is in water? None. One. So what do water do when you drink it? Water actually flushes out minerals. So once you drink water, you flush everything down to your where you gotta pee at that bag. Once you pee, all your minerals is gone. You have no nutrients in you no more. You're hungry again. So if you're gonna um, fast, water is your enemy. Water depletes you of minerals. When you're depleted of minerals, you feel hungry. You feel weak. Even though you probably had a meal 15 minutes ago, but you just drank a big cup of water and you just pushed everything out. The chemical part of it you pushed out. So only thing left is the physical food, which you're gonna poop it out now. Once you poop out the food, you feel empty. So don't drink water. I would recommend some type of like coconut water, something that's not gonna dry you out, suck off of you. Same thing when you bathe. What happened when you bathe? You come out, you ashy as hell. It dries you out. It takes everything out of you. That's what water do because it's a heavy metal, and it got chlorine in it and fluoride. So those together is not really water. You in your mind you think you're drinking water, but think you get it from a company that actually do something to the water. So what's done to the water is actually depleting us of our minerals and our nutrients. And so you don't see runners anymore in the Olympics and in marathons drink water. They drink Gatorade or something that put nutrients back in them because they knew that a lot of people was running and doing marathons and drinking water and passing out. So when they did the research, what was making them pass out, it was actually the water that was making them pass out. Oh damn, maybe that's why my face drying out and turning red. Yeah, you actually make this oily stuff. You see how my skin is shiny? And sometimes you feel it is oily. You have to allow the crystals, this is what we call the crystals, to actually moisture your skin. It's a magnetic fluid that we all make when we don't wash our face or have our face underneath that drying stuff that dry us out. So you have the ability to make the crystals, the magnetic or the healing things that your skin needs. It makes itself automatically. A lot of y'all don't like oily skin, but that oily skin is healing. It's not oily skin, it's healing. It's your body makes that automatically to cover you with the right moisture. And so you have to understand that. So I would recommend water maybe twice to three times a week, and I'm pushing it because it's heavy metals. If you're doing alchemy, you have to refrain from water. Alchemy and water don't go together. Alchemy, water is alchemy's or spirit's enemy. So if you're planning to do alchemy, it's easy to do alchemy. Just don't touch water because you're gonna transmute all the heavy metals in your body. And if you do it with, you're gonna eat food, but you're supposed to eat only natural food. But if you're gonna, so the natural food is gonna make up the new biochemistry of you, and you're gonna draw and purify. But if you drink water, water's you're adding heavy metal all the time to the mix, and every time you add heavy metal to the mix, your kundalini can't burn it off. It floats around in your body, and you wind up getting sick. So drink your water, but I don't recommend it if you're doing alchemy. Right. What else now? What about taking showers? I drink spring, but that this is helpful truly. Yeah, spring water is this. It's like spring water is alkaline water. Yes, it is, and it do give you that benefit. But like I said, it's still heavy metal water. It's still the same water. And then you got to take into consideration: are you getting the water in a glass bottle? If you get the water in a glass bottle, then it's right alkaline water. If it's in a plastic bottle, is the bottle BPM free? If not, the water got BPM in the water, and that's not healthy. That's killing you. And when we talking distilled water, we talking toilet water. When they tell you distilled, that's what it means. They take sewer water, recleans it, and then sell it as distilled water. So all the waters is really polluted. It's not really what we think. You really have to go and get it yourself from a hot spring. I'm just putting you on. There's other ways to get your substance in your body. You're looking for minerals. Find minerals and make yourself drinks with minerals in it than to just drink straight up water. I'll give you the research. I'm gonna show you the research so you see what's going on. And you can Google yourself, do water deplete all your minerals or anything like that? Yeah, it does. Okay, what about taking showers? The same thing, taking showers. I do recommend for um for indigo babies, showers should be cut down to like twice. I mean, no, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. We usually shower every day, which dries us out. We can't ascend and we're dried out. It's the same thing. I told you water is your enemy. It's a heavy metal. Your iron. Your iron. Put it like this, your iron man. Everybody blood is iron. Iron and water don't mix. It equals rust. Rust is aging, carbonization happening. Your pineal is calcified because of water and fluoride. They put chlorine in the water. You're not drinking water. What they do to the water when they put chlorine in it? It forms a sediment, a hard calcified sediment when heat hit it. That's why you see like in pots, you get this calcification or buildup in them pots, especially electric kettles. That is water. That's the calcium, the chlorine in the water. And so it forms this hard ass sediment rock equivalent to gallstone. And so that's what's in there, you know. So once you start living off of what's called light, you realize you don't need water. You live off of light. You're a light being. Get your energies, your resources from the sun. All your food come from the sun. Any type of thing you need, you get it from the sun. We're light beings. We're not water drinkers. We're not food eaters. Those things is new to us. Look into the Brithians. They eat, they breathe and eat prana. These people don't eat, don't drink, none of that. So you got to realize this. We're just educated and taught that we have to eat and we have to drink and we believe it because we do it supporting a corporation. But to be a light being is to realize you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't do none of those things. You understand? So once you understand that, then you understand the path of a light being, a light worker, and the faith that goes along with it, and the discipline that you have to go through. So that's the truth. If you Google right now, sun staring gives you superhuman powers by NASA, it tells you by your second month of sun staring, you don't have no hunger. You don't have the need for food no more. You stop eating food. That's normal. Sun staring make you stop eating food because you never used to eat food nor drunk water. All you fed off is light. With that, they tell you about that man, Rati something, that actually NASA checked him out and he actually never ate food. Only drank a little bit of buttermilk. Only reason he drank buttermilk is for protein so he could DNA could go back and forth. But we didn't drink all that. We didn't eat all that. We didn't eat to be healthy. Light gave us everything. We used to stare at the Platonic solids. We stared at crystals when we were sick. This is the first form of doctors. Look into Plato and them. When they giving you the Platonic solid, he was giving it to you to heal you. This is what people stared at. How we used to heal each other? We stared at light. Light is the only way we heal. When we was hungry, what's called mana? Mana is the food of light. We feed off of light. It's only crave your nervous system contracting and expanding, causing you to be hungry, feel weak, feel diabetic. But you have to fast, like I was reading in the Emerald Tablet of Thought. He says only way to get to me is through fasting. You have to get your body to a certain discipline, a level, a feeling that's going to feel uncomfortable, but that's our world and putting you onto how we come from. You see how they meditate with the medicine ball, it's not a simple word. So once you understand that, you don't need food, you don't need water, you're not really sick when you say you're sick. All of these is perceptions in your mind. You start configuring it to be the universal mind, the one. Then your willpower gonna take over, and you'll be able to concentrate and will anything. And that's when you become back the solar logos. You become the prokaryotic cell that is actually here in life. So once you understand these concepts, you won't use the sun gazing in the morning and evening, 5:30 p.m. Yeah, Sandra, you Googled that one, sun staring by NASA give you superhuman abilities? You will see that and tell you that. Eating, you don't eat. Nobody goes through life eating, man. When you eat, you're going to die. When you drink, you're going to die. That's all it do to you. That's the execution of yourself. That's it. So if you want to live, sun stare at light. It feeds you. And you don't understand what I'm saying. Don't expect like you're going to go, yo, I'm hungry right now, and then go to the light in the sun and you stare at it, then your stomach full. No, it don't work in that sense. Let me explain it to you so you get it and don't go try to go fill your belly with sunlight. After when you start staring at sun, you actually start opening up your neurons, your chakras start unblocking. Once your chakras start unblocking, you start feeding automatically. Light comes in you. With light coming in you, you don't have darkness, this hunger, crave. So you wouldn't think to eat. You wouldn't have a thought about eating. You'd just be going about your life. That's how it works. So if you got hunger and you're craving, you got to go sun stare to get rid of hunger and craving, not to fill your belly. Your body makes whatever it needs to feed yourself. It makes it automatically. But through hunger, crave, culture, tradition, trying to transition to like being fasting, it's hard because you're in a repetitive cycle of always eating. You feed them around the clock because of the corporations want to make money, but it's not natural to be there. That's not a natural reaction. Some countries only eat twice, other countries once. So we have our traditional breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all this other stuff. But you got to realize every time you put something in the body, you change the vibratory frequency of yourself. You could be perfect vibrator like this. After you eat, you like this. Now it depends what you eat. You either your cells is going to unite with them and become one, or it's going to be a clash between your cell because you can't give a living cell dead food. Dead food in the living cell ain't gonna work. You would have to go blend some peanuts, some oats, some stuff, and drink that, and your cells will unite with that. But when you get a burger, you don't even eat a burger and get something from it. So how your cells is gonna get something from a burger? Your cells is like um, the plant cell, protoplasma, they work off of light. Everything work off of light. So you have to feed it light food, real light being. So um, it also gives you energy. Yes, Sandra, a great technique to help you overcome eating is actually tree yoga. Do some tree yoga. Tree yoga is involved in actually you connecting with a tree and staring it down in that position I showed you with the Egyptians holding the two rods, one foot forward, the foot with the heart, there, and stare at the tree down. You take the energy from the tree. It feeds you and it fulfills you. That's what tree yoga is. You should go around your whole neighborhood and do tree yoga with every tree. Tell them the other Enki sent you. They'll accept you. You understand? But tree yoga is 100% real. And it's more powerful than you stealing somebody's energy, you going for energy from food, you getting energy from friends and family and sex. Go to the tree. Same thing with rock. You could do rock yoga, water yoga, and putting you on. It's the 0 point staring and just focus on it, and that energy comes to you. You take that energy. Excuse me. All right. So we covered a lot tonight, you know. I just want y'all to understand, you know, and it's funny, I don't want to hit too much up. Any questions we could talk about real quick because I'm going to end it, get me something. You know, right now it's hard. I'm going to explain something to you. When you eat and you constantly eat, you're going to get into a habit that it's hard not to eat. It's hard to diet. It's hard to say you don't need food. But in ascension, you have to do, ascension is the fact that you do what you don't like. Ascension is the opposite of what you did. That's what you do now. So if you hated corn, you're gonna love corn. If you hated these type of people, you're gonna love those type of people. It's doing everything the opposite of what you're doing. That means what you hate. That's ascension. Or doing what you hate is what you're gonna love. Put it like that. That's ascension because it's there to teach you about the other yous. You've been beautiful, brother. Thank you. Yes, Yoshi. Thank you too. You know, and I appreciate your support and everything. Everybody who gave the little donations, I really appreciate it. But you know, like I said, that's the whole trick to ascension. And if you can't accept the fact that you're gonna like the things that you didn't want to do, or you gotta face the things that you didn't want to face, and give up things that you love, you have to give up everything you love when you're ascending. You get it all back. It's the story of Job, but you're ascending now. It's an individual journey of self and to find out who you are within yourself, you know. And so you have to separate from attaching yourself to things, and take a selfless journey into yourself. And so only way you're gonna do a selfless journey into yourself is by telling the truth. Honesty is the only way that you're gonna know thyself. Know thyself is the only way you're gonna be able to know your limitations. If you don't know your limitations, you ain't gonna know what you can and can't do. This is all about your limitations when you're talking the astral world, going into the halls of Amente. And when you find out who you are, then you will come back and use your limitations to make yourself have unlimited everything. Because now you know where to stop and get somebody else to fill it in because you know your limitations. Before we do things, even though we can't do it. You understand? You're welcome, Sandra. You know, and so Once we understand the selfless journey that we're on, and it's a journey of the Buddha field, we'll take it and then you come out yourself. It's like you move up in perception till you bust out yourself and become the enlightened, and you don't see yourself as a body. This body's headed in a different direction. Let me show you. The body belongs to Satan. I'm gonna end it off and show y'all this. I'm gonna show y'all in the basic term, because y'all think all the books is the same, man. Synchronicity is what I look for. I don't look for difference. I don't see nothing different in this reality. We're all the same, and so I could see the synchronicity in everything, and that's what makes the God, and that's what makes it so special. Why I love it. You know what I'm saying? And so when you can see synchronicity, you know you won. Yes, cause OTG, and I'm gonna show it to you right now. The body, where the body belongs to, is really important for you to understand. And once you realize where the body belongs to, you wouldn't want to be in the body. Here it is, right here, and I'm gonna use this one for this one on y'all. This book, y'all know what this is, y'all. Good old Bible, right? It says, you see this line right here? I'm going to pull it back up after I read it to you. It says, to deliver such a one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Jesus. All right, so you see, you got to realize Satan for the destruction of, this is the word, the flesh. Your flesh is set to be destroyed if you're a flesh material person by this dude right here. Look, Satan belongs to the flesh. You're not the flesh. I'm gonna break this down so you understand it's simple. Why this book don't lie and it's not a joke. Right? So if you're a material person, you're going here with this. That's why they're trying to tell you get out the body. Astral project. Why you think John is writing to you from outside his body? He say when he came in the body to write the thing for a quick minute. You understand? They don't play with the body, B. They know that's a trap. That's the archons. I'm putting y'all up onto that. And this is where y'all at. Just like in the beginning. Let me end it off to show you another part so you see that this is all the same. Their little games and gimmicks. Where is it at? Here we go. Look at this one. This y'all know what this is. Alright, so over here it says, I'm gonna read it first, then I'm gonna point it to you. This is at 7:2. He says, and the Lord God formed man of the dust in the ground and breathed into his nostril and breathed a life, and man became a living, just the key word. The key word right there, a living soul. So man did not become a living flesh, a living man. You became a living soul. See it right there, the bottom line, right under here? You became a living soul. This is all God cares about, your soul. He don't care about the flesh part. That don't have nothing to do with him. So do you recall, do you see that he breathed into the man, but he became a living soul? So he's only interested in the soul you, the psychic you, the one that has the abilities, not the flesh you. If you, for some reason, can't find the psychic you, and you're just stuck in the flesh you, that's because that's how he wants. You're not ready to talk to him, and he's not ready to talk to you, because there's another part to this that I'm going to show you real quick before I bounce. I love Corinthians. You know what? I kill y'all with Corinthians. You know I'm a beast with this book because he lay it down for us. All right, now let me show you it real quick. And he tells you this with the man and the woman. And this is where it comes up at. Let me show you that. Problem. I could break it down to y'all more, because if y'all want to look at some things to concern yourself with, why does it says problems of the married and the unmarried? You see, this is important to understand this part. Let me make you get this real quick. He says, now come up the things whereof wrote unto me. Is it good for a man to touch a woman? I'm going to leave you at that now. Why would somebody ask, is it good for a man to touch a woman? just leave it on that note, but I'm gonna go someplace else. Because if that's it's that serious, it's that serious with yourself and your body, and we don't know what's going on. Now, where is it? I just gotta show y'all what happens to the flesh. There you go. There it is. Now, this is the part. He says, "Art thou bound unto a wife?" Okay, let me just show you it so you can see. I'm not. This is not biblical, but this all come around 360 degrees. So this is now coming from Corinthians 1. If y'all got yours, let me see. No, Corinthians chapter 7, verse. I'm gonna start at 27. It says, "Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loose from a wife? Seek not a wife. Art thou bound to but if thou art married, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she have not sinned, nevertheless she shall have trouble in the flesh. But I spare you." That's what it says. You see what I'm saying? Once you tie yourself into a relationship, you fucked. You excluded from the whole ascension, the God thing. It says it's right there. Um, Let me continue reading it. You can look it up for yourself. I would get the King James version because it tells you the straight up truth. But he says this: "But if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if the virgin marry, she have not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short, and I remind you that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they were wept, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use the word as abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away." So this is gonna bring understanding, so you get what he's trying to say. He says, "But he that is but I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried, listen now, he that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things that is of this world, he who may please his wife." So you see, when you attach yourself to material things, attach yourself, you disqualify from the soul world. You're disqualified from the spiritual world because you only care about the material world in your relationship, your wife or your husband. You understand? There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. This is still reading it. "The unmarried woman," it says now at 34, "careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit." Remember, I brought up to you for a quick minute if a man is supposed to touch a woman. And you see over here, he says that she may be holy in body and in spirit, but she that married care about things of the world, how she may please her husband. So that's all she care about is her husband or her kids. She don't really care about the path of ascension that she originally was put on, and before she had a husband and a child was on, until she fell to her own desires and is living the liabilities of it. So you got to understand, we set courses and we do the will of ourselves, or we could do the will of our destiny. And it's laid out in every book. It's synchronicity. It's only for you. It's a personal journey. It's not for your husband. It's not for your wife. It's not for your child. You didn't have them when you started this journey. You made them on the journey. So you have to assume the responsibilities that come along with the actions that sustain that. But you're still only responsible for yourself. But do you understand now? If you need to see that, that's chapter 7 of Corinthians, and it says it in all books. I could keep going on. You know, um, I just wanted to put you on to that because you're messing with me. I'll have y'all discouraged. God is real, man. So when we empaths is told in downloads to go isolate and to stay away from certain things, and our mate will be chosen for us, and to don't do certain things. We follow these downloads that come inside of us. It's intuitional, but it's actually in alignment with what I showed you in that book. Same thing in here. It got the stuff about psychic vampires. Vampires, what we call friends. Look at this. I'm gonna show you in Proverbs. Psychic vampires in your book that you don't understand have been laid down for us. And I'm using all books. I don't just want to use one book or whatever, but I'm just showing you how we overlook the basic things, and it's right in our face. And so maybe you go back and re-look at something over and you'll see that what it's trying to tell you, or maybe have a different message for you if you was to look into it. All right, let me break down for you, for instance. This is from Stay Celibate. Yes, it's gonna help you, because in your solar logos, your semen is all the gods, all the entities, and you send them all through your body, and they separate your consciousness from your flesh, and you're able to astral project. Say something disastrous was to happen, you just close your eyes and body double and get the hell up out of here. You're not here and stuck in your body. You're like, oh, whenever you die, that's where you go. If you die in that fear, that's where you're going. A person come with a gun in your face and you're scared of him, you go to him. Anywhere you die, because you feel that, you go there, you implode into that. So it's always good to know you go right. You die in peace, die in happiness. You die ready to die, so that you go to where your destiny is to be. You never die in fear. You never contemplate anything, and you good. It's nothing that's gonna kill you that ain't supposed to, which is yourself. It's nothing else is gonna. But if you have thoughts and all these other crazy stuff, you take it on and then you bring it into your reality through your astral thoughts, thought forms, and you make it a reality. So I wanted to show you real quick in chapter 5 of Proverbs, right? This is about energy vampires. He says, drink waters of thy own sustain, and running waters out of thy own well. Let thy fountain be dispersed abroad, and rivers of waters in the streets. So drink waters out of thy own sustain, and run waters out of thy own well means to do for yourself only. Don't let nobody else give you anything. He said, let them be only thy own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy mouth. All right, now that was just a quick one to let you know. Don't get caught up and pulled into shit. But now when you go to chapter 6, warning against idleness and falseness, this is where you get your first interpretation of energy vampires. And they call them friends. You see, what we call friends today meant your enemy, and back in the days, you never had no friends. So when somebody said the term friends in the Bible, that's an enemy. I'm going to show you, for example, chapter 6 right here. Over here, this one is called your friend. You see how it says the friend? Let you see the verse. So if you want to read for yourself, you see what it says. Oh, now let me read it to you. He says, my son, if that be surely for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared by the words of thy mouth, and thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. So you see, that's the energy vampire and succubus. Yo, you promised me this, or yo, what's up? Once you do that, you leave your own well, you leave your own, and you get caught up with this word called friend. And if it says this in the Bible, that my son, if thou be surety for thy friend, for thou hast stricken thy hand with thy stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, and thou taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself, for thou art come into thy hand of thy friend. Go humble thyself, and make sure thy friend give not sleep to thy eyes, nor slumber to thy eyelids. So yourself, don't let your friends rock you to sleep. Don't let you believe your friends. Don't let your friends get up in your eyelids, the eye right over here of imagination. They'll get into your soul through right here. That's why the Egyptians have it. So they're telling you, deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of a hunter, and a bird from the hand of a fowler. So anybody you consider your friend is your enemy. Today y'all call each other friends, but y'all really snakes. Friends only come around you to take something from you, to see what they could get from you. But in the doctrine, that word is a curse. Nobody is considered friend. You have only brethrens. Brethrens is if you can't treat somebody your equal, can't have them around your money, your gold, your little child, then they're not your brethren. When you're calling them your friend, that's your enemy that you're playing with, and it's an ego thing. There is no such thing as friends. It's really an enemy. A friend is an enemy until you realize that you don't know when you're not awake and you don't know yourself. You understand? So that's why it tells you these things in there. There is no such thing as friend. You know, if you can't call that person your brethren and don't see them as the same and don't trust them with your kids and your family, then there's get rid of them. That's a energy blockage in your life, and you call it as friend to feed your ego. I'm putting you on. Another last one I like to show y'all that y'all get to see some real. Since we in this little companionship right here, I'm gonna show you about dragons. That we're our brethren. You know who's our brethren? It's not a human being. Our brethren is the dragon. Believe it or not. And I'm gonna show it to you. 31. He says this. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I show you this because it's very important for you to understand who you are. Even though you look one way in the physical form, this is not who you are. You're more of a dragon. And I'm going to hold it up now and show it to you. This is Job 30, 29. 30, 29. Let me put this over this way. 30, 20. 29 down here. What does it say down here? You want to read it for yourself before I read it? I'm going to hold it up there so you see what it says. 29. This is what in reference to it, so you know now. He says, I am a brother to dragons and a companion to owls. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Do you understand that? I'm going to repeat that for indigenous people so you know who you are and who your brother is. Even though you don't understand this term and you're in a world that you cannot see dragons, they're there. Each of us is one. And he says, at 29, you have to get the King James version of the Bible because this is when he told the truth. He didn't lie. He says, I'm a brother to dragons and a companion to owls, the wise, the spirits you can't see. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. My harp is also tuned to the morning, and my organs into the voice of them that weep. So you get to see we're tuned to celestial forces, higher beings, and you're different from other people. And if you can't accept this and do what you're supposed to do and individualize yourself, you're going to get caught up into something that you're not and don't understand yourself. Anyway, I've been on this for a while. I've been doing these long lectures. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this heart. This is so beautiful. You see that? I love this. Yes. So, this is what we want with nature, the dragon, the elemental spirits. You can't really feel them, but you'll feel them through these things. This is how you connect to them because these is the dragon. This is light. This is calcified light. And these is who you are. Isn't this beautiful? It's a nice piece of crystal right here. We got all these. So I just wanted to show you who you are, what you are, and you get a greater understanding of what's going on. We got them in all pieces. These is the smaller little pocket. We got pocket crystals. You keep these in your pockets for protection and good luck and everything. These will protect you from bad spirits, negative forces, bad mind. Bad mind is the trick. And not just other people bad mind, but your own bad mind. Let's keep you in a positive state of mind. Trust me when I'm telling you, I'm not here trying to sell crystals. I don't even sell no crystals yet. It's just starting. I'm just putting you all on. Lord and Key, who wrote the Bible? The Bible, how could somebody write this in the pyramids? They just translate off the pyramid text. It's the pyramid text, man. Ain't no Bible. So, okay, that's your answer right there. Go get the pyramid text and read the real Bible. And who wrote that? The pharaohs put it in the pyramids. Just they passing it on from the first group from Atlantis. All right. Remember, The same stories is the story of Ra, Horus, and Set. Remember, Jesus rose Lazarus from the dead. Horus rose Lazarus from the dead. Jesus was Osiris is God. It's the same thing. Every story is the same. Mary is Isis. Everything is the same. It's repetitious. So you're reading Sanskrit version of the Vedas. That's the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita, the Vendetta, the Etta. All of those is that same book. That's the same story. That's the same as Buddha books. It's the same story as the pyramid text, just translated in different language. Everyone is the same. The Chinese tale is the same story. They're same kings. They're same everything is one story. The Mexican story of Quetzalcoatl and Vayacuch is the same story. We've been all been told one thing, and we believe everything they tell us and try to individualize yourself from the whole, but you can't. Just a synchronicity, as you can see, the same stories everywhere. You understand? That's what's going on. It's who could tap in to the Akashic records. You see for yourself. Do you agree that the Bible, as well as the Egyptian mythology and others, are about the mind and consciousness? It's spirit. It's about your spirit. It ain't. It's in tune to get the mind right, to free the consciousness. But it's actually something that was written before the first epoch that we passed down through the Chaldeans. If you look, the Chaldeans got the real books. Look up Chaldeans and the Padrakita and the other ones, the language. They got the true information because they go back to the demonic period, primordial period with it. So they're the first, and you will see Babylon got it, Egypt. They get the offshoot of it, but the Chaldeans started it. Sun, yes, sun, soul, soul. Sun is Son. That's Solomon. Sol. That's sun in Greek. Om is on, and sun in Hindu, and Sol and Mon is sun in Egyptian. So you see in sun, sun, sun. So is the word Hercules. Sun, sun, sun. All of them is the same. The story of seven doors. Seven. I was just telling my friend that Jesus. Jesus is about the sun. Jesus I was just, oh, let me tell y'all this quick story before I go. Where I live at, right, I get to watch the sun. I watched the sun for a year, so I was telling my friend, you know, Christmas, she's like, she don't believe in Christmas, and I was like, nah, Christmas is 100% real. What do you mean? Christmas New Year's is 100% real. I celebrate it. And then she's like, huh? How could you celebrate that pagan stuff and that Christmas? I said, no, 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 no. It's not like that. Let me explain it to you. Have you ever observed the sun? Let me tell you what the sun do. The sun, it's always comes up in the east and go down in the west. But it don't just do that. It actually comes south now. It comes south 30 degrees. And this now is where you get December 21st. December 21st is when the sun is setting southwest, right here for 3 days. And I watch it because my bathroom window is over here. And all year it's here. But come December, the sun is in my bedroom window right here when it's going down. So I watch now after that for 3 days, and then it starts shifting back to over here. And this is when it comes back by Easter over on this side. So that makes it New Year's right now. 21st of December is over here. Right? There you go. That's right, Rob. So it's not about Santa Claus. It's real. And it's not about some New Year's. A real event happened. Watch your son on December 21st. It dies for 3 days in the southern hemisphere, western southern hemisphere, and then makes its way back west again, where it's right overhead with east, where it just travels over this way. But for that, we're looking at as a tilt. You're looking at the earth is going like this, wobbling while it's doing that. So you see the 30 degree. This is what the sun is doing now between south and west. It's going like this. This ought to do. It. Take a year for it to do this. So I'm bear witness to this. I know this for a fact. So I celebrate New Year's because I watch it do this and then stay there for 3 days, then come back. I've done that for 3 years now. And so it's real. New Year's, Christmas, all them things is real. You could just look at the sun and observe it do that. Watch when winter come, where you're at in your direction. Start observing where it's dropping now. It should be, if this was east, it should be like around here, heading towards the middle, southeast, right in the center. And then after Christmas, it's gonna start going back all the way west again. It ain't. You would think it's gonna keep going to the south if it's going this way, but it's not. It's gonna go only to the middle halfway and then go back. So that's how you know that this we're going through a elliptical orbit, and it takes 30 degrees a year, and those 30 degrees is your 30 days and all that stuff. But the calendar now is wrong. We're supposed to use a lunar calendar, the 28-day cycle of 13 months, which will go align with the woman's menstrual. But we use the Gregorian solar lunar calendar, which is off, where you get a bunch of months that the days is not equal. So it throws off our psychology and it throws off our circadian rhythm on purpose to make us programmable. So that's why they do it, But the woman's cycle, menstrual cycle, was the first clock. The clock started when they started observing the woman's cycle. That's how we first dated time. And her time is the most accurate. It's more accurate than any atomic clock or anything. Her cycle is always the same, regardless of what you think. All right. So, what was the question? Before so I could finish it off. Um, yes. We was discussing the Bible and the mythology about the mind. All right, yes. So the book now, when we talking about what is actually how it's passed down, then left on pyramids, it does something for people. And so what it does is it sends you out your body. You have to leave your body. Else not, you're gonna face the beast and your body decay. And if you're in it, you're gonna decay too, which leads to reincarnation and a lot of pain and suffering. So the book came down as a metaphysical story about those symbols you see. Those is those beings. It's not about people in this physical world. Even though the Bible could be read in 7 different ways, it's occult, it's esoteric and exoteric. But it has a political meaning too, a spiritual meaning. It has many different meanings, a metaphysical. So if you don't know all the different meanings, you'll take it literal, and it has no literal meaning. That's the whole problem with it. So the actual message from the pyramid text passed down from the Vedas, passed down. It was in Jainism before Buddhism came in. It was passed down through the Hamites, through other sections of what we call the Neolithic period. Neolithic period just means African period before writing was invented. That's the Neo period, Neolithic. That's what they call African. So if you want to know African information, study Neoplatonism, Neo everything. That's our true history. Neoism will fall under Homer and the Iliad, all that stuff. That's African stuff. But they just couldn't tell you that, so they put it with the Greeks and all that. But the whole Neo movement is African. Greeks and Romans would be studying African stuff. So they got it under the Neolithic period so that you understand if you want to track. And when you're talking Neolithic, you're talking the Hamites, Ham people. Before, Abyssinian period, this is when the Hamites was ruling, you could say. We was under Ham. Then you got Cush, which brought about Kemet. You understand? That's a different doctrine. But the doctrine of what we call the Syrians is Hamitic, Ham, and that's what we're preserving today, being passed down as Tantra, Yoga, the Bible, what was preserved on the pyramid. All of those books is from the Hamitic period. They the ones who got the real science and knowledge. They're the children of the sun. So, when we get it, it's us about redemption, separation of the consciousness from the body so we could leave. If not, you'll be here part of a system to help the Rothschilds make their money. Read the Rothschild sheets. The book of Enoch gets deep into the movement of the sun. Yeah, the book of Enoch not just get into the movement of the sun. It actually now get into, the different beings that played a part in our evolution. You remember it from Noah or whatever, having the three-colored child. Remember Japhet, Ham, and all of them rendered three nations. So you got to understand, you're talking three spirits. These are three physical bodies because Japhet rendered the Europeans, Ham rendered the Africans, and Shem rendered the Nubians. So you had three different races come from one Noah. But if you read the book of Enoch, in the book of Enoch is the back of it fragments of Noah. You could Google fragments of Noah and you will see Noah's not a normal child. He's the son of the angels. He was the one that's white with eyes that shot out a beam of light. His father is Lamech, but Lamech is not his father. His wife was having sex with an angel, with one of the angels from the sons of man that had sex with the angels. Well, if you read it, Lamech, when he first meets Noah, read the lost fragment of Noah, is surprised to see his son is white in a place where everybody's black. His eyes are shooting lights out, and he came out the womb talking. So he drops the child and runs to Methuselah, his grandfather, who go get Enoch, and Enoch tell him that's not his child, that the angels made that child, and that Noah is going to start a new generation of kids. This new generation is going to be the higher beings. So that's the true one. You got to read the lost fragments of Noah. It's in the book of Enoch, the end part of it. So in there you will learn that Noah is not a human being. Noah is a higher spirit, a demon, whatever you want to call it, and so is his three kids. Go look into that, then hit me up. You'll see it. Now Google right now, lost fragments of Noah. You see it, and then you read how Methuselah, Lamech is surprised to see himself. They give you a description. No, Noah was a real person. I'm talking from the story point of view. Noah is the consciousness awakening. Now, this Noah I'm talking about, we're talking in a biblical sense now. If you read the lost fragments of Noah, you will get a whole story of angels having sex with human beings that made Noah. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Noah is different from everybody else. And so is his kids. They're all different. They're not part of the genetic line of human beings. They're like hybrids because angels had sex with them. If you read the story, the fragments of Noah, you get a great understanding of how angelic beings work and how it happened because Noah don't look regular. Even though we all look at Noah as whatever, but no, he's not. Now, in his metaphysical aspect, Noah is what it means. The Knower, Noah. That's what you are, the Noah in you. Noah is in you. The three other sons is the Trinity. You got them all in you. Moses, the same thing. It's just a title, Moses. Atmos. All of them Moses, Mies, Ramses, those mean son of. Most means son of in language. So Moses is son of the sun. That's what I mean. That's all I mean. So any type of most, Mies, all those words just mean son of. So you get to. So do you take the story of Noah literally? Now you got to know the metaphysical story of it. I just had explained it all. I don't think you caught on. Let me put you on again. Those are spiritual stories of us in the astral world. When the flood took place and he landed on Mount Ararat, that's when it became physical. When he touched the Mount Ararat, it's not a physical story though. Like the gathering of the animals and the stuff, two of each pairs, that's inside yourself. That's the same story like of the Star Wars episode. It's not the physical world started after the flood. But that's the spiritual story. The flood signifies you coming out of something into the physical world. You understand what I'm saying? Noah in his metaphysical form is you and your pure self. The Noah, you're still that spiritual being the angels had sex with. That's you. You understand? Right now, you're still Ham, Japhet, and Cush. I mean, Shem. Do you understand how your body is put together? You're an anamorphic being of all three cultures. You're a hybrid. So all of these is actual. Now, if you're saying that Japhet started Europeans, you didn't listen when I did the laws of hybridity when everybody came from West Africa as blacks first. So it wasn't Japhet who came and made Europeans, and it wasn't Shem that made Indians. We already established genetically proven that everybody got original genetics, including the white people from the Sans Pygmy. Google right now, Sans Pygmy hold the European genetics, not Europeans. Africans do got their genetics. So once you realize that, then you get to see it's a mutation that made up the Europeans. So don't take the story literally as Japhet created that nation because we already proved where that nation came from. And you had two parts in it. The blue eyes, straight Aryan got stuck in the Ice Age. That was in South Europe. That's proven through Frobenius. Get Frobenius books on the first races of man. He was there to encounter the Ice Age and tell you about the blue-eyed blonde hair. And they didn't mix with the Asiatics and the blacks of Europe, what was part of Asia, the Eurasiacs. That's your black hair white people with non-colored eyes. They're mixed. They're not pure. So one is noble and one isn't. So you get to understand it too. But to say that Japhet, Ham, and Shem made those people up, then you miss the whole mutation of migration thing. And then the Arabs is a mutation. It's not. They're not the pure first race. They're a mutation from the root race. The root race is Negro, one race. So is the white race, a mutation that came later. That's why their history is the last to come out 500 years ago or something like that. So you got to understand these mutation got a spiritual story to it. Everything got a spiritual story that started out in the astral world, and that's what they bring down to you first. Like we would say Jesus is a physical person. No, it's an energy, a Christ that we call the Christ. He embodied Christ, and you hear more about Christ in Gnosticism than you would hear the literal word Jesus because they knew that wasn't literal. But there's people through initiation could embody this the Christ, the elixir, the energy itself. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Ham saw his father Noah nakedness. Japhet and Shem refused to do so and cover their father nakedness. Yes, okay, that's 100% right. And you know, that symbolizes in life you're gonna have both polarities. It's a polarity between seeing him naked and that whole incident where they walk out backwards. You see, that's the trick to it, the walking out backwards. You understand? So you get to see spiritual because we go forward and we do the zodiac forward. But when you do it backwards, it's the procession. That's the soul version of it. So, it's put off in a way to actually give you the physical story and the metaphysical. It didn't mean it in a sexual way that he's gay, but it meant to say he's like androgynous being and he sees them naked or whatever. And the gods, I told you how they see each other sexual wise, or they don't see each other that way. But it was not to be interpreted like a homosexual type of way. Them walking backwards and not looking is there coming back out into the physical world, and one world is a spiritual world. I hope you get to understand what I'm trying to say because I don't want to lose you. But yes, all those stories is actually cosmic stories, same like Star Wars. All of them have deeper meaning to them than what we take it literal. Just like, for instance, when Moses said don't eat certain meat, a lot of us took it like don't eat pork, don't eat, this. That's not what it meant. It didn't have nothing to do with meat. And if you want a great example to prove that, you could read the Epistle of Barnabas. In the Epistle of Barnabas, he gives you what Moses meant in reference to meat. And he goes and he tell you when he said don't eat certain animals that hover around the dead when the son he's gonna die. He's saying to stay away from scroungy people that always is begging for things. Every one of those animals he tell you don't eat is an attribute of a human being that is kind of like an animal, have scroungy ways, like a vulture or a hoofed animal. So he didn't tell you don't eat physical meat. Only the mundane took it that way. In the book of Barnabas, he tells you that in the epistles, he says that after you break down what each meat was, like, as far as the hyena, who he said had double sex, and they have two sex organs, to stay away from these type of people because they'll do anything. After he finished, he said those that did not understand what Noah said took it as meat and stopped eating meat. And he said that's not what he meant. And everybody know that. He was describing what each attribute of a human did to an animal. But he didn't tell you not to go eat meat. That's definitely, you failed the test if you thought it was a physical meat thing, because remember, it's not what goes in the body that defiles the body, it's what comes out of it. God made everything good for you to live off of. So you could be in the Philippines and all you have is dogs and rats and you eat that and you live. You can't be in America eating McDonald's saying that's bad what they're doing and what you're doing isn't bad. You understand what I'm saying? So there's no such thing as that. As far as that, as if you defile yourself, it's bad. And defiling yourself is being around certain type of people that brings defilement to you. You understand? Well, I just looked up fragments of Noah. So Lily in the Valley, you see it? Am I playing about that? Noah was not no regular kid, man. Ham saw his father. Okay. Yes, that's what's going on. But anyways, I got a few things I have to take care of. I really appreciate y'all coming and spending some time with me. I'm gonna redo this over a part three to that reading of the Emerald Tablets, because this go deeper. My phone's died, my tablet died, but it's more information that I want to share with you, including Agatha, and show you the other worlds. How do you range the Freemasonry and other brotherhood lodges in relation to consciousness and spiritual ascension? Well, okay, they are waking us up, and especially Netflix is helping. You see, Netflix is all about astral projecting. It's us. We was always in a lower state of consciousness, and we still don't understand them up to now because we still haven't accepted Tantra, our true sexual nature. Like you see in the sex temple of India, and then you see Ptah with his penis in his hand. Those is who we are. We're magical. This is a magical world, and it always was. When religion came, it took away our magical powers and gave us laws and governed us with education and slowed us down. But for you to understand everything and get your powers back, you have to be responsible like a master wizard or craft. So you're going to learn all these things now. I'm implementing you to the craft through the left-hand path to the right-hand path at the most subtlest level through what's called natural science. Once you understand natural science, there's nothing that you ain't going to know how to use because there's laws to it. So learn these laws and you'll learn magic. You understand? This is what the real world went on for. They call it miracles, whatever you want to call it. Look, it's actually here and we could do it. But first you have to learn the new way to do it. But these things was abolished and thrown out of society. And we're now educated to just believe, want to see. We're like scientists that want proof. And in doing so, you can't prove something that's abstract. It's all abstract. That's the truth. And if once you realize it's abstract and it's only your mind perception of it, you're in your own world. And what you will and what you imagine and what you want and desire is what you're subject to and what you're entitled to. And there is a destiny of going back, death, rebirth, going back. As long as you're not afraid to go back and prepare yourself to go back, you'll come back. But if you're afraid, you're going to avoid everything you're supposed to do. There's nothing evil about these fraternities. No, it's nothing evil about not telling you the truth. What we're telling you is the same like how Apostle Paul or Jesus is telling you. It's a mystery. To you, I tell to you, the apostles or Peter, I tell you the truth, but to the rest of the world, it's a mystery. Is Jesus evil? Do you consider Jesus evil? the same mystery. No, you're not ready for it consciously. In time, we'll know everything. So they're not evil. We're evil in our thoughts. Remember, from Egypt, you had the aristocrats and you had the regular. They separated from them. They didn't hang out with them. They didn't partake with them because of their lower consciousness. By you saying they're evil, you don't even know them. I don't even think you experienced evil yet, but yet you believe there is evil. So that's our problem. We say things we don't know. We say things we don't mean. We say things we never experienced. I'll tell you the easiest one. The War of the Worlds. 1940, George Orwell got on the radio, started talking about aliens is coming. The whole world ran out their house believing it. Nobody saw the alien. Nobody saw nothing. The whole world believed it. So that's how we live. We live believing. I can't tell you it's nothing evil. You're not going to believe that. You understand? But it's up to you to find it. It's up to you. That's the real journey, because if you think evil, you're going to get evil. If you think negative, you're going to get negative. You're not getting the pure thing. So how could you receive something if you always have a thought image or thought form over it? When you say nirvana, not thinking, then go into something with not thinking. A person could be a killer. You see somebody get killed, you say that's evil. You don't know. You don't know the terms of what's going on. You can see somebody get stabbed, a little kid get ran over. You don't know the terms of what's going on, what it plays in your life, what is it trying to tell you. But to judge it is the wrong thing to do. To say good or evil is trying to say you're God. You know. You don't know what's good or evil. You're just in this world to experience. Experiencing is accepting what you see around you, not trying to change it. When African people believe that Freemasons do Hunan, yeah, they do. I mean, there's all types of things going on because, like, for instance, out here, you have a lot of people at the hotels. It's ran by Freemasonry. Most of them is homosexuals. And they get the people in the community, and they get the young guys to work as waiters and lobby people, and they have sex with them and do a whole bunch of things. You heard John Travolta. He always molests the waiters and the people that come to, wait him on, take care of him, and then pay them off. That's not the Illuminati. That's not even, you can't put it to a system. That's an individual perverting God. That's perverting power. And that's what you have a lot of people who wasn't purified and is in it. Europeans, the typical who wasn't in it prior to the Africans releasing it to their knowledge, did not perverse other stuff. But now it's perverted. But you can't blame the system of the Illuminati, the system of good, bad. It's the individual. The evil is only in a transaction of energy between two persons. You could be here. You could have all the evil thoughts, and I could be good and real. As long as we don't talk and don't touch each other, there's no evil in you or me. Evil is in the action between the two persons. The transaction makes the evil. So there's no evil in nobody. It's the transaction that's evil. And so if you know that, then it's not you. It's not him. It's not in the body. It's not in a person. It's in the atmosphere. It's in the intentions. It's in what you're thinking. That's what makes up those things. And those is what I was telling you about. Control your thinking, and those things wouldn't exist no more. Okay. Human sacrifice. Okay, human sacrifices was done for the matriarch. The woman brought human sacrifices in the world. The beginning, if you look at the Bible, Old Testament, same thing. It's all about sacrifices. We was in the matriarch time, the abyss. Sacrifice and blood sacrifice is real. Same thing you read with Moses, all sacrifices. Sacrifice still exists, but we do it on a different level now. So when you look at human sacrifices, that was real. They did it first in Africa. They started because of the fact that they needed harvest. A lot of women was barren, and couldn't have kids, so they sacrificed their slaves for kids and whatever. A lot of people buried themselves with their slaves. When the slave, when a master died, the slave had to die too. So they sacrificed the slave during when after the master died. It was that they supposed to take them to the next world and be their slave after. So you got so many parts to this. Just about when Europeans started coming in to document Africa, every tree had somebody tied to the tree. Mad trees was petrified with human beings. Africa is kind of possessed now, to be honest. Because if you read these books of how many people sacrificing on trees to the god Abyss, you will be amazed. Matriarch season is just about sacrifices and killing and murder. That's it. And the people was good with it. If you was the chief of your town, everybody in your village was hoping to get sacrificed one day. They lived to be sacrificed. So I hope you understand that sacrifice was a part of tradition, but not today. But sacrifice is here still. For you to get anything, you have to sacrifice. But you cannot go around saying, oh, we're sacrificing people. Even people's doing it though, blood sacrifice, all those things. But remember, those is individuals. Don't put it on a whole now. Because you got two sides to everything. There's a good side to everything as there is a bad side. So you cannot put one thing in a sphere. Always make two spheres or sphere split it in half. Alright? That's what's up, okay? I agree too. I respect you. Alright, I'm done. I appreciate y'all coming. I hope I answered enough questions. Anything y'all want to ask, you feel free. And y'all have a wonderful night. Peace and blessings. One love.